what we've kind of pulled together is a checklist of best practices for a BESS project to really kind of be well set up. And these best practices are also kind of separated into the same four categories that we discussed. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking through the most important of these best practices that we see. So within project setup and strategy, I mean, I cannot emphasize enough that a battery project is a program. It's an ecosystem of multiple different suppliers. It's a long-term program. The investment levels are typically quite high. I mean, we're of course here. The larger your project is, the more relevant this kind of structure actually is. So if you're talking about north of 50 megawatt portfolio, front of the meter batteries, then what I'm saying really holds is it becomes a bit of a complex program that you need to manage well. So you need a strategy, like you need a little bit of numbers to guide you and a proper setup to guide you as well. So let's walk through the different components of that. So Edward spoke a lot about building the business case, and he kind of explained why the best business case can sometimes be complex to build, all the inputs that are required and all of the kind of scenario building that you can make. But I cannot stress enough how important that is as an exercise to go through, to build a strong business case. And the business case is a living organism, if you want. Like, you will need to review it. You will need to understand the market evolution and build that into your business case and review that on a semi-regular basis. I'm not saying every week, but every 6 to 9 months, you will want to be kind of really doing a big review of your business case. Do all of my assumptions still hold or not? What changes have come into the market that might affect how we think about things? To the extent that it's possible for you to diversify your portfolio, it's definitely a good idea to do that. And here you can do that in multiple different ways. You can diversify geographically across countries if that's something available to you. You could also diversify in different, let's say, pricing zones in the same country. So as much diversification as you can bring to your portfolio, the better, because that way you spread your eggs across multiple baskets. And then establishing project governance. So making sure that connected to the business case, connected to the partners, you have a proper governance of your project. That means communication flows between different partners, but also communication flows to the investors, being able to see quite clearly performance of the project. So there needs to be some kind of a small team that is a bit responsible for oversight and transparency across the whole project, because that helps quite a lot in debugging issues as they come up along the way, because they inevitably will come up. Carefully select your partners is also a really important one. Here you need to kind of also make a good balancing act between costs and quality of the different partners that participate in your project. Identifying the areas where you don't want to cut corners, because it's important to have a partner that can really support you, is a really important aspect of this. At the end of the day, your project is as strong as all of the people that are involved in the ecosystem. So it's quite important to be mindful in this selection quite a lot. And then spreading the project risk. So here as well, if you're able to secure some kind of revenue guarantees or tolling agreements, even for a portion of your portfolio, thinking about how you fund your project in a way that spreads the risk across multiple parties that make sense for your project, that also can help quite a lot. And again, this is more relevant for maybe larger projects. When it comes to pre-qualifications, I think what's important there is to understand that this process is complex, understand that there's a third party involved, which is the TSO, that needs to provide the approvals for the pre-qualifications, and that very often that's a complex process. The back and forth that happens with the TSO can take time. It can require debugging of issues that can be relatively complex. So whenever you're building the business plan, whenever you're promising revenues or kind of thinking about revenue forecasts, etc., I think it's important to plan for this complexity that's there in pre-qualification, so that if you do see longer approval cycles versus your original plan, that you've kind of baked that in, because that also helps to, because there is here an external dependency that you can affect, but you cannot fully control. But you can affect it, and you do that with this second point there, which is having strong PQ project management and expertise is really important. Working with somebody that has worked with the TSOs before extensively, understands the process, understands the requirements, the technicalities, maybe even has contacts within the TSO so they know who to go to respond to certain questions, I think will be really key. As well as the project management around that. Debugging an issue that comes from the TSO requires sometimes your hardware supplier to make certain changes to your site configuration. So many people could need to be involved in debugging some of these issues. So it's one of those areas, again, where project management and streamlining communications can be super, super helpful. Then if we step into the trading aspect of things, some of the best practices that we see there are also following from a lot of what Edward discussed in the previous sections. So continuing to grow the number of revenue streams over time is going to be quite important for the battery project. So depending on which country you're operating in, it may be possible that one revenue stream can be quite lucrative for a while in your country, but over time, it is, I don't want to say it's going to be true everywhere, but it's very likely that the revenue stack will need to become more diverse. So you will need more revenue streams. So I think you need to at least have an outlook towards a growing number of revenue streams and a clear plan with that. And that means working with a optimizer, or maybe you're planning to do this yourself, but just basically, whether you do it yourself or you outsource this, the idea is to make sure that you have an evolving revenue stream. One thing you can do is also always be benchmarking your revenue performance. So if you're working with optimizer A, try to figure out how you can really benchmark this performance against the market. There are multiple ways that you can do that. That's something we can discuss separately, but figuring out a way that you're able to kind of really understand, okay, is my performance good compared to what the potential of the market is at the moment, is important. And then related to that, understanding your assets performance. It should not feel like a black box. You should be able to really have a good clarity on the revenue you're generating, whether that's as well as it can be or not, and if it's a little bit low, what is exactly causing that? Okay, great. How will I then change the bidding strategy to improve that? That's something that should be available to you. And then when you are thinking about trading, one important thing is also to understand the full picture. So not only targeting where is the price higher and the gross revenue the higher, you need to understand also the trading costs, so that you're really thinking about net revenue for yourself and not only the gross revenue is super key. And then when it comes to the fleet operations, it's quite key here to establish comprehensive alerts process. So really understanding for your different sites, all the things that can go wrong. And you don't have to build that, So basically, that's something that you can build a little bit iteratively, so you don't need to have maybe everything from day one, but you need a clear path towards being able to comprehensively, like in a very automated way, track all of the issues that could occur in the availability and and the health of your system, and then after the alerts, actually have very clear processes for how you can action those. Again, so the team here that's involved could be multiple suppliers, hardware, IT providers, people that make sure you have 24/7 coverage, etc. So there needs to be very clearly set up processes to action these alerts that encompass all the different teams that might be involved in that. And finally, advanced battery health is related to that. So having mechanisms in place to really monitor the health of your battery, to be able to create those alerts and to be able to extend the lifespan of your battery to the extent possible is also super key for the overall success of the project. So with that, these are the main components that we see of the checklist that will enable the project to really be set up for success. And I do want to say that, like on this slide here, where you see some of the boxes are highlighted in yellow, these are areas that we actively help our partners with. And so the way that we perceive our role as the route to market player means we really help you end to end make your project successful. And that means not just generating the revenue for you, but also really being a partner to you throughout the project, and a partner kind of from a strategic perspective, so helping you with the business case of your project. Very often we're working with our partners very early on. We're helping them decide what's the right duration, how deep should your battery be if you're going to be operating with this kind of capex in this kind of area with this kind of IRR expectation. And so really helping to build a strong business case is something that we do, helping you to establish the project governance that you need, helping you spread the project risk through revenue guarantee structures that we have. We take over the entire pre-qualification process for you end to end. Trading is, as we were mentioning, our core specialty. So with our optimizer, that's something that we can fully kind of streamline for you, but then also help you understand how you actually performed with your assets. We can build bidding strategies together, and then fleet operations, of course, as well. So advanced battery health capabilities and alerts. So however you want to do this, like that's what I mean by carefully select. Choose however partners make sense for your project and your setup, but I like ideally find a way to be able to capture some of these best practices in the way that makes the most sense for you. So bringing kind of this together, I will just add the third column here, as Ed presented already the first two. Basically, best projects are complex, and issues arising is an inevitable thing. It will happen. But if you have a strong project strategy, if you're working with the right partners, then you should be able to make your project a big success. So following a playbook of best practices will definitely then maximize your project's revenues.